a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It's 7 a.m. and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Adana Combi. Indeed, it is a good day to give God thanks and praise for being in the land of the living. It's Monday morning, the day after the weekend.
A beautiful Monday morning.
Beautiful Monday morning. The week is about to begin. And things are about to happen.
Yes, most certainly. And, we had a great start, a great, weekend flow.
Yes.
Indeed, kudos and commendations going out to the organizers of the Blue Food Festival. From all indications, updates are coming in. Certainly well executed, and we look forward to getting some, additional details in the mix. Proud of the people of Northside.
Yes,
very,
definitely,
very proud of the people, in Northside in terms of execution and rollout.
Yes.
And there are two persons in particular, in terms of our coverage and the hosting of the event that I want to highlight. Lavia and Ashby Cupid.
Right.
Excellent
Well
indeed.
Good
Very
job,
good job. Well done. Taking us through the Tobago updates coverage of the Blue Food Festival, and also to another young person I've known him coming up through the years within youth development, Snoopy.
Yes,
Snoopy
of
on the
course,
main
of
stage.
course,
So therefore this morning,
there.
certainly want to send kudos and shout outs to the both of you in terms of, really doing an excellent job. And I think while people may know Snoopy, I'm sure Lavian took many by surprise.
That's right.
Commendations indeed. And I see she's on the live with us this morning.
Good
morning and well done indeed.
That's right.
All right. Viewers, we also want to take the opportunity to send commendations out. This weekend was the opening of Credit Union Month that took place in Skinner Park in Trinidad, and I want to say that all the chapters across Trinidad and Tobago were well represented, but certainly want to highlight the Tobago Regional Chapter of the Cooperative Credit Union League of Trinidad and Tobago, representing those credit unions here on the island. Certainly kudos and commendations, an excellent representation and presentation taking place out there. But at this point, Adana, who do we have coming up on our rundown for this morning?
Of course, we're having conversations this morning with Mr. Kurt Jack. He is the president of the Radio Emergency Association Communications, REACT. And of course, we're talking about REACT Ready for Tobago Carnival 2023. We're also speaking with, of course, Sergeant Joseph Jordan from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services. And we're talking about the updates, things that happened on the island, and also TTPS on fraud, a very important conversation. And rounding up our conversations, we speak with Mr. Brian Thomas. He is the chairman of Pan Trinbago Tobago region, and we're talking about Pan Trinbago rhythm, steel, and powder. That's our conversations for today.
Things happening.
That's right.
All right, viewers, so we're heading straight on into our birthday shout-outs this morning.
Right, and celebrating a birthday, I believe it's a belated birthday. We have Miss Abini Taylor celebrating her birthday yesterday, and we hope you had a wonderful birthday, and we hope you continue the celebrations this week and know that you are loved by many. Happy birthday to you.
Wishing you a happy birthday, Abini, and indeed continued blessings, or as I would say, Senorita Taylor.
That's right.
I hope I got the roll of the tongue right.
Right, and also celebrating a birthday, we have Bevon Benjamin, right, celebrating a birthday today, I believe. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Benjamin. All the very best on this auspicious occasion of your birthday.
And a birthday shout out going out to Andre Edwards. Indeed, we want to wish you continued blessings, and we trust that you continue to enjoy the birthday celebration.
And we have Miss Abian Davidson Henry, also known as Auntie Abby of Jesus Kids Foundation, celebrating her birthday. We want to wish you a very, very happy birthday today. Oh, and of course, this is Miss Janaya Hislop celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday, Janaya. This is coming out from your auntie, daddy, your brothers. Happy birthday to you, my darling. And from all of us here at Tobago Updates Television, happy birthday, Janaya.
on this, in the midst
of the celebration,
yes.
we want to acknowledge, a stalwart in Scarborough, Mr. Kenneth Berkeley. He passed on Sunday, and we just want to, express condolences to his family and his loved ones. He, on behalf of the business community of Scarborough, if you know anything about Scarborough, Mr. Berkeley, so we just want to express our condolences to his family, and we want to pray strength for all of those who are affected by his loss. A beautiful soul, a beautiful gentleman here on the island of Tobago. So may he rest in peace, and may we, may his family and friends receive the peace of God to go through this trying time. All right.
Yes, certainly, always very mixed times. We celebrate, in most instances, and we give thanks, most importantly. And then there are circumstances as well that we have to treat with the realities, of others passing on and so on. Just before we move ahead, Adana, one of the things this morning that really, I think, has become a burning issue in the Tobago space, and I'm hopeful that there will be urgent resolution this week, is the happenings at the Registrar General's office that's in Uptown Scarborough. It would appear from the reports and the indications, and we've heard a number of persons speaking out on it thus far, and certainly a call for it to be dealt with, the issue of some matter between public officers, senior public officer in Trinidad and one in Tobago, and basically you have a scenario where the result is people cannot access their information.
Yes.
Whether it is you need a death certificate, you need a birth certificate. Apparently, the indication is it would appear that Tobago has been locked out of the system in terms of accessing all those records directly here in Tobago to facilitate business, whether registration, deeds, and all those things that are affected. And, we urge for them to recognize. But this is serious here. This is serious.
Matter, yeah.
In fact, you saw one of the headlines indicating that there's a pileup of bodies because obviously if people cannot get death certificates, it's difficult in terms of being able to process and to move ahead things, even with funeral arrangements and so on. So we're really calling on the relevant authorities. There must be persons senior to these officers, and I want to say without hesitation, it cannot be a situation that one individual operating out of Trinidad can hold to ransom Tobago in these circumstances, or in fact any other part or region in Trinidad that is responsible for delivering these services on behalf of the Registrar General's office. So we're really calling on the relevant authorities to get involved immediately to find a resolution to this situation currently affecting Tobago significantly. All right. And at this point, viewers, we're heading straight on into Tobago in Focus.
Good health starts with good nutrition. The Division of Education, Research and Technology understands this, knowing that the future of Tobago lies with the nutrition of our children. The school nutrition policy is being developed for this purpose.
We must understand that the child is a whole being. What the child consumes matters. We do have a lot of wastage with particular meals as well, so we want to bring everything in a streamlined and organized manner so that we are most cost effective in our school nutrition program.
The policy, which is being examined and developed by a multi-departmental team from the division, as well as food and nutrition stakeholders, will seek to reduce waste, provide cost-effective measures, as well as establishing quality standards for meals and the stakeholders who create them.
We're also going to be reviewing the cost, the pricing, criteria for children to access the meals, because that has sort of gotten out of control a little bit over the years, moved away from the original objectives, and also the criteria for selecting and for maintaining your services as a caterer, because you have to maintain a standard.
The committee has been given a 4-month deadline for the full rollout of this policy. Technical advisor at the Division of Education, Research and Technology, Natasha Second, said work is well underway and encouraged principals, teachers and parents to participate in the process when the need arises.
We want to have policies that are very clear, policies that are very pragmatic. They're not going to simply be academic documents that are stuck in a cupboard. We want persons who work throughout the system to be able to move towards an improvingly higher quality education product, because we can measure exactly where we're going. So we want it to be transparent, and we want to have high levels of accountability throughout our entire system.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. In this first segment, viewers, we are chatting with Kurt Jack, and he's the president of the Radio Emergency Association Communications team, known as REACT. And this morning we're speaking ready for Tobago Carnival 2023. And you're probably wondering, is REACT a band? Is REACT, what is REACT about? Well, this morning, Kurt Jack is here to tell us all about the organization. Good morning to you and welcome, sir.
Good morning.
All right. So,
good morning to your viewers.
Excellent. So as we get the conversation started this morning, so I want you first to help define for us the Radio Emergency Association Communications team. Tell us a little bit about REACT.
It's Associated Communication Team.
Right.
REACT has been established here in Tobago since the 70s, the early 70s, right? And over the period, we have done two-way communications, like the fishing projects, that the fishing competitions that they had over the years. We actively involved in the Tobago Cycle Classic that just happened. And most of all, when there is emergencies like hurricanes and this sort of thing, we supply radio communication. We partner along with TEMA with regards to this. We have about 30, 35 members at present, with about 12 to 15 that still actively involved in communication. Our last event that we were involved in was the Tobago Cycle Classics, which we covered for the 4 days, the races around the community here and around the island. We provide that by way two-way radio and the more active, or should I say, the social media platforms like Zello, which is a two-way radio app that we also use.
All right, excellent. So naturally, bearing in mind the example you just gave us, tell us about the involvement in the Tobago Carnival. And we know that you are one of the stakeholders in terms of having been around the table and the planning process for the Tobago October Carnival that comes up shortly.
All right, well, with regards to that, we basically the eyes and the ears of the Carnival Committee. What we will do at this point in time is really traffic back to control the command center that's involving, well, what we'd say, pass on this information that anything that is happening on the ground, you need to know the location of the bands at all point in time, so as to have a free flow around on the route at the point in time.
All right. So tell us, it gets very interesting. So is it that, how does this work particularly for REACT? You have your persons posted at various points. Just give us an idea for the benefit of our viewers and listeners.
At the point, what we will try to accomplish is having at least one person per band on the route. We at all times relay to command center where the bands are, so they could have an idea as to the location throughout the entire route.
All right, excellent. Why did REACT think it was important, particularly as an NGO, to get involved in the Tobago October Carnival?
Well, for instance, it's something that has been, let's use the National Carnival. We haven't been so actively involved in that here, right? But throughout Trinidad, for a number of years, this is what goes on. And along with TEMA, And our goal commander, ACP Collis Haves, he said he did put in a plug saying that it is important that we have React because he knows the importance of it as he has worked with it on the Trinidad end. We have done a bit of work here, for instance, Panorama, the last two panoramas
Yes.
here in Tobago. We worked with that. That's at the complex side. We worked with them, providing that same sort of information, you know. So they know where the bands are at all point in time. You know when to call up a band, tell a band, well, all right, let's get going, you know, so not to have the kind of delays that you normally have with bands.
Let me give you an opportunity because I know the usual challenge for persons in NGOs is funding to support what you do. You know, how are you able to meet that expense? And more importantly, if you want to use it as a call this morning to remind persons that they can support, feel free to do so.
Yes, and we would like you know, people to support us in any way they can. We've been having a few new members, you know, inquiring about us and, you know, showing their interest in joining. Among the members, we just deal with subscriptions.
Right.
And some of the same organizations contribute because, as you say, they sometimes give us a little donation as to help us because we need radios to continue the effort. And you know, we always have to say thanks to Tima, who assists us a lot with regards to radios itself, the two-way radios. Some of our members have their own personal radios, which is very costly, you know, but we will appreciate members or persons assisting us in any way they can. And feel free to call on us when you have your events like small marathons and that sort of things, so you know what's happening at the start and at the end.
All right, and even along the way.
Along the way, most of all.
Very important, because you touched on something that I'm sure many would like to hear, which is the issue of being able to effectively monitor bands along the route. And, you know, very often you have that situation to ensure a smoother flow. So therefore, there's certainly some level of confidence coming forward in persons this year to see that there's actually a dedicated entity on board as one of the stakeholders for the Tobago October Carnival that's going to assist in that regard. How do persons communicate, reach out to React, social media, telephone, email, any contacts at all for those who may be interested, as you indicated, in terms of following up on your services, even beyond just the Tobago October Carnival?
Yes. We could get, they could contact 742, 742-3121. Right? So that's 742-3121. And we would give them all the information they need with regards to React and, you know, their involvement in whatever activity that they may have, or in joining the organization.
All right. Tell us, what can we certainly look forward to this time around with React's involvement? I know you're not the only one to ensure the success, but certainly as a major contributor, given what you are now bringing to the table as one of the stakeholders for the October Carnival.
One of the main things is to have a smooth flow of the bands from point A to point B, or as we say, along the route.
All right, excellent. Any additional information you'd like to share with our viewers before we close this morning?
Not at this point in time.
Not at this point in time. He's so confident and comfortable that communication will flow. And we want to say thank you very much, Kurt Jack, for joining us here on set this morning. React, one of the stakeholders participating in the Tobago October Carnival 2023, and this is the Radio Emergency Association Communications team really making that contribution, and we're recognizing critical at that One of the efforts, we started off ACP, the division, and a number of key stakeholders are really playing that critical role along the pathway to ensure the successful delivery of the second execution of our Tobago October Carnival. Viewers, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Bad girl from Roxborough, Tobago, body fuego in your day clothes, I rate you. Grew up around good vibes and incense. Grew up in hard times that intense. Shut it as you're reaching at the dance. Use the topic as you're reaching at the dance. My girl, go and drop it as you're reaching at the dance. Making use of your talents when you balance back on the dance. Yes, yes. I know, baby. You want a man who take you serious. Not just beat and leave. You're fed up on the streets. Yes, yes, I know, baby. You want a man who take you serious.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We are at about 7:24 a.m. I'm Julian Skeet, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. In this segment, viewers, we are speaking with Brian Thomas, chairman of Pan-Trinbago Tobago region. And this morning, we're talking about Pan-Trinbago rhythm, steel, and powder. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Julian. Nice to be here again.
Right, and just before we even dive into the Tobago October Carnival, quite recently we would have seen the celebration of World Steel Pan Day. I want you to tell us a little bit about the success of that rollout, both in Tobago as well as in Trinidad, in terms of that national recognition.
Right, Julian. The most I can say, and sum it up in one word, it was epic. You know, in both islands, the turnout in both events were really, really tremendous. Tobago, we had us on the 13th of August at the Boko facilities, and that event was really wonderful. You know, Steel Band has been picking up a pace, you know, during the last few years under this presidency of Beverly Ramsey Moore, and you know, we are here, especially Tobago region, you know, to chart that forward. You know, with these kind of events, and all the upcoming Tobago Carnival, it's just going to be another staple, another epic event.
Excellent. And I think for the supporters of Steel Pan, really, really tremendous and excellent execution. I had the chance to be down there in Buku. I think I got there probably about halfway through. Really impressive with even the setup to facilitate continuous play from one band to the next. And not a matter of waiting on any stage. The stages were created based on where the bands would have been set up. Really excellent indeed. And
Well, that is something that is specifically done that way because Steel Band is for the people.
Yes.
And then the players like the vibes and the feel of the energy of the people. You know, so having a stage is very nice. Putting the Steel Band on a stage is nice. But also interacting with the persons, feeling of their energy, and the players feeling of the energy, and the patrons feeling of the players' energy. You know, it gives a different light to the whole event.
I felt like it was a mini version of what I learned of a few years ago, a pan. What is it, a pan crawl?
Yes, a pan crawl, yes. Yes.
A really mini version of that, but excellent in terms of execution. This time around, we're heading into Tobago October Carnival, and we're talking rhythm, steel, and powder. Tell us a little bit about that event.
Well, rhythm, steel, and powder is a spin-off of the pan and powder, which was held last year. Pan and powder is Pan Tobago, Trinidad, the whole governing body of Pan in Trinidad and Tobago. It's that event. However, we felt that Tobago needed its own identity. And we looked at the different rhythms, and we included the steel band and, of course, the powder. So we came up with the name Rhythm, Steel, and Powder. So we've given Tobago its own brand. However, it's the same concept of the pan and powder, where we have a street parade through the streets of Scarborough. Players and patrons wear white, and also we have the powder to add that added effect of carnival.
Excellent. When does this take place?
Well, it takes place on Friday the 27th. Friday the 27th of October at 5 p.m., starting at the Coast Guard base, just opposite Gomes. Bands are going to line off on that street. Of course, we're going to lock off the street just about half an hour before with the police. And then, we'll play while patrons gather. After that, we are going to parade. We're going to have about 5 bands parading through the streets of Scarborough. Going through straight up the Milford Road, going up Wilson Road onto Post Office Street, Gardenside Street, and back down to the Esplanade.
All right. Tell us a little bit about some of the bands, because I know particularly those supporters that look forward to lining up, getting on the sidelines, jamming and enjoying good music. Some of the bands that will be involved in this execution.
So this year we have 12 bands partaking. We have two different stations, and we have the stationary bands and we have the roving bands. So we're going to have 4 bands at the beginning, starting at 5, between 5 and 7 p.m. We're going to have 4 bands playing while people gather. So you don't want the bands going up the road with anybody behind them.
Yes.
So we're going to entertain the crowd while people gather, get themselves ready, make sure they have their white jersey on, make sure they have their powder in hand. If they don't have the powder, give them enough time to run by the drugstore, get a powder, and come back. And then, at between 6:30 and 7 p.m., we're going to go up the road. So we're going to have those 4 bands that are going to start is Metro Stars, West Side Symphony, Tech New East Side Dimension, and C&B Concordians. So we're going to have some roving bands going up the road now. So we have the Cats and Jammers, NLCB Buccaneers, NGC, Steel Explosion, and Dixieland. And we're going to have one surprise guest from Trinidad. I'm not able to divulge that as yet.
Yes.
Right, so we're going to, and at the ending, after the parade, we're going to end off at the Esplanade at the Carnival Village.
Yes.
And so we have 3 other bands there going to go and kind of tight into the Juve, because the Juve is right after.
Yes.
Right, so we have RBC Redemption Songsetters, Uptown Fascinators, and I can call this one is NGC Joylanders from Trinidad.
So in terms of definitely having that collaboration and that support, tell me a little bit about the entities and the bands themselves really coming together with this kind of initiative. I think Pantrinbigo has been quite excellent with that in terms of getting the collaboration. And I know this can't be an easy feat at all.
No,
Tell us a little bit about some of the
is,
logistics and background
it
work.
is not an easy thing. First of all, let me thank the Tobago House of Assembly. Has been tremendous in the support for this event. Coming out of last year's success, you know, this was one of the shows that really gave that Tobago feeling, the Tobago Carnival feeling in the first installment of the Tobago Carnival. And they were adamant that this event take place again this year. Right, so thanks to Tobago House of Assembly for that. Coordinating with the bands, we had a lot of interest from bands from Trinidad wanted to come over, but we just couldn't facilitate this round. So, you know, as time goes by, you know, we're going to have different bands at different times. The Tobago bands are ready and waiting, preparing for this event. You know, we have Panorama coming up also. So there are 2 events they are preparing for, which can be very tedious. But, you know, this is what we love, and this is the whole purpose of it. So the preparation is going, it's a bit hard, but it is going well so far.
You are, I know you are directly involved as well, the success of one of the bands here in Tobago. And I want you to share a little bit, because I like to use opportunities like these, you know, to really encourage and to show how it is the steel pan movement has now transitioned into a space that also promotes youth development and building that capacity. Tell us a little bit about your experience in that regard.
Well, for my band, per se, the First Citizens Tobago Panthers, we have turned the page and using the steel band as a learning tool, as a vessel for learning. Through the help of the Digicel Foundation, we have installed a tech center, a homework center. So we were given computers, so we have that homework center where on evenings the players or children from around the area come, do their homework, and then they print something if they have, because we have equipped with printers also.
Right.
We also have persons, volunteers there, can help them with their homework. And then in the night, you know, we practice. So, you know, the steel band now is coming, it's more of a community center than actual community center. It is in more use than the actual community centers. You know, so if we can get more steel bands coming on board with this type of events and this type of activities, you know, it helps the youth from off the street. And, you know, the steel band can do so much more, you know, but we just need that assistance and that push and that guidance along the way.
Tell us as well, in terms of, we've seen a lot of success coming out of the steel band movement, particularly, you know, here in our Tobago region. We have our rangers that are excelling. We have bands topping our competitions and so on. How has that served in terms of motivating and encouraging those who exist, and also even to encourage new persons to want to get involved in steel band?
Well, the Tobago right now, Tobago holds 2 national titles, which is the National Small Conventional and the National Medium Conventional. And what we have seen this year so far is that 2 additional bands from Tobago in the small category has now used, in the incoming Panorama, are using local arrangers. So that is a positive within itself. So we know those 2 bands are not bringing any arrangers from Trinidad. They are using 2 of our upcoming arrangers here, and actually 3, because 1 band is using 2 local arrangers, members. So that now we have 3 additional arrangers on the island, and that is really, really good, and we hope that spreads right through the region. So all the bands, hoping in the next year or 2, all the bands are using Tobago-based arrangers, and probably we can win all 4 categories.
I like the way you're talking
yes.
In terms of putting that kind of focus, most definitely. How do you feel, and in terms of looking at opportunities for really, some have spoken of before, a greater inclusion of steel pan, even from within our school system and so on? I know some schools, you know, currently facilitate. What are your hopes in that regard?
Right. So I've been having discussions with the Secretary for Education. She is very respectful towards it. And also, let me just point this out. Our sales at Pan Tobago for pan sticks are coming from the school children.
Well done.
Most of our sales are coming from the school children. Although the Pan in School project is not up and running as it should be as yet, I know things are in place for that, but the principals and the teachers are asking the children or to purchase the pan sticks and as an added thing on the book list.
Yes.
And that is really, really commendable about from the schools. I expressed that to the Secretary for Education so we can get the Pan School program up and running as soon as possible. And it is in the school, and we like it to spread throughout because the schools are the nurseries for the bands.
All right, excellent. I want us to remind persons as well about the route. In case you now joined in, we're speaking steel pan, continued excellence here in Tobago. So what I wanted to remind persons about coming up for this Tobago October Carnival, the route that they would be taking in terms of the, I want to make sure I get it right, rhythm, steel, and powder.
Yes, rhythm,
right.
steel, and powder. All right, so the routes will be, as I said, from just on the corner of Coast Guard Base. So we're going to be there from 5 p.m. till about 7. We will be gathering play. So we're going to have bands playing while the patrons gather.
So the event starts there?
Yes, the event starts there at 5 p.m. All right, so we're going to have 4 bands playing there, and then we're going to parade up the streets. Or let me just add that we're going to have like carnival characters. Also, we're going to have some drummers and rhythm sections because the rhythm, steel, and powder. So we're going to include other type of rhythms. All right, up the road, we're going to turn left onto Wilson Road and then right onto Post Office Street, Gardenside Street, and come down and end at the Carnival Village on the Esplanade.
All right, good. And just remind us of the bands again very quickly.
All right, so the bands starting is the West Side Symphony, T&T New East Side Dimension, CMB Concordians, Metro Stars, the Roving Bands, Dixieland, NCG Steel Explosion, NLCB Buccaneers, Cats and Jammers, and we are ending off with RBC Redemption Songs, Uptown Fascinators, and NGC Joylanders.
Always impressive, Brian. You live, breathe, eat, sleep, steel pan. It comes so natural to you.
Yes, yes.
When do persons need to gather from what time, and is there any cost attached?
It is free. Gather from 5 p.m. and during the week, we are going to have information on jerseys. We're going to have these nice jerseys for sale. So you can purchase them. We're going to have the information sent out by social media.
Excellent. And just remind us of the date and time again.
So the date is on October 27th, Carnival Friday. We're going to dub it at 5 p.m.
All right. And I like the fact that Brian made mention. This is going to take you right down. In fact, you could get in the mix here and then head straight on into Juve Saturday morning. So certainly, anything else you would want to share?
Well, just say for traffic management, of course, there are going to be some sort of discomfort on the evening, but it's Carnival, the road made to walk on Carnival.
Say that again. The people say, yeah.
Yes, the road made to walk on Carnival Day, so it's going to have some discomfort in the area of Scarborough. But we have been working with the Gold Commander, ACP. He's doing a tremendous work in getting all the stakeholders together and make sure that the information is out there, that all of we are collaborating together. I must say the port also has been very receptive of this, and all traffic through the port, in and out of the port, is going to be from the top gate. So they won't have that, cars will not use the bottom gate to go in, so we will not have that kind of clash with transportation and the pans at the same time.
All right, and as you mentioned transportation very quickly, are we hopeful heading into Panorama again for next year's Carnival? Efforts in terms of really improving the situation, particularly with the Port Authority?
Well, that discussion is already started, and we have a number of different things that we can try to get those things out of the way.
Excellent. And you're hoping that we can look forward to hosting again one of the categories here in Tobago?
Yes. Discussion has already started with that.
All right. No pressure out there on Beverly Ramsey Moore and Patrick Tobago, but certainly we look forward to that. So we want to say thank you very much again, Brian, for joining us here on set, folks, as we speak Rhythm, Steel, and Powder. It takes place on Friday, the 27th. and you're reminded to gather from 5 p.m. From
yes.
5 p.m., the lime and the event starts, and that's in the vicinity there of Coast Guard base, and then you hit the road with your bands to really enjoy what the season has to offer, and this is courtesy Tobago, the Tobago region really making it happen. Thanks again, Brian Thomas, Chairman of Tobago region, and it's a good way for you to note, yes, there will be some inconveniences, but the road make to walk on Carnival Day. All right, so viewers, we want to say thank you once again for continuing to tune into the Tobago Updates morning show, and to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
You know, who would I ever believe, Jessica could take care of a child,
I know, right? I'm a kinship foster parent to my nephew Malik.
Papa, you remind me of my grandmother, you know, when she used to take care of my cousins.
If I didn't step in, I don't know where he would have ended up. Plus, I get support from Children's Authority, training, and counseling.
But Jessica, you're not married?
That doesn't matter once you have a safe home and you're related to the child. You're good.
So did this give money to do this?
Yeah, they do give me some money.
So, Auntie, you can buy a Lamborghini for me?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Malik, but that money's to take care of you. Okay, smubble up, yes.
I will not try. Mommy, you can buy
No.
Wait, I didn't even finish my sentence.
About Lamborghini, you could get lamb stew for lunch.
Auntie Jessica could only come when you come in, because all them does do is talk people business.
Malachi, I'm only going on the bed.
But Mommy, the boy don't even live here.
Yeah, go to your bunkers.
What? Bunkers? Where's that?
I think I'm getting pretty good at this.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can't beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Mount Pleasant Credit Union Back to School Loan Promotion. Loans up to $15,000. Requirements: job letter and a payslip no more than 1 month old. Utility bill, copy of book list, salary deduction, 10% down payment for self-employed persons, evidence of income and expenditure, bank statement, 12 to 18 months, other supporting document. Promotion ends October 18. Contact us at 639-8375 or 8108 or check us out on www.mpcutobago.com or email us at loans@mpcutobago.com. Mount Pleasant Credit Union's Back to School Loan Promotion.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. I am Adana Kambi, and we continue in conversations this morning as we speak with Sergeant Joseph Jordan of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services. We're talking about updates, what happened in and around Tobago over the past weekend, and we also want to talk a little bit about fraud. Good morning, Sergeant Jordan, and welcome to our program this morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, your viewing and listening audience. Thanks for having the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Of course.
Right, so let's go straight into our updates. Right, so our comparative period of 2022 versus 2023, we're looking at the 1st of January to the 9th of October. And where we are seeing our serious report crimes in 2022 stood at 571. For the current period, that figure stands at 551, which is roughly about 20 less SRCs. Our detection rate is 32% as compared to last year, it was at 43%. The crimes that continue to be very high on our list we're speaking about the general larceny, breaking, shooting, woundings, sexual offenses, and fraud. Right? As it relates to activities, over the weekend we had the Blue Food Festival, which took place at Lance for me yesterday, and I have no reports of any incidents, so it seemed to be a relatively safe and enjoyable time persons had, and we look forward to encouraging our visitors to the island on the next occasion we have it. All right, yes, there was a report of an accident, I think on Saturday evening, but persons got injured, but there is no fatality as relates to that based on what's up to this point in time. And we look forward to persons being safe along the roadway, especially as we are leading up into this carnival, the Tobago Carnival, which is also going to carry us into the Christmas period. And we want to advise the public that let us observe the speed limits, because many of the times road traffic accidents, especially serious and fatal ones, are the result of speeding, reckless driving, being inconsiderate. So let us try and observe our road regulations and avoid accidents and incidents.
That's right. You need to pay attention to, sometimes we need to drive for yourself and for the other person. And
certainly. Sometimes
we drive a little bit selfishly, so we need to look out for each other and pay attention to the road regulations. So we want to talk about fraudulent activities. You mentioned also in your preamble, talking about the updates, that fraud remains one of our main sources of criminal activities. So tell us a little bit about the fraudulent activities, what to look out for, what you consider a fraud, and how to prevent yourself from being a victim of such activity.
All right, so let me start with the history, some basics of the fraud squad unit. Now, this was a unit that was established on the 5th of June 1965 as part of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. It is a specialized unit. It is a unit that comprises persons of various skills, various training that deals with complex fraudulent matters. We tend to work with a threshold of matters of fraud beyond in excess of $50,000. We also work closely with financial institutions as well as the members of the public as an advisory, and as we also investigate these matters to bring some clarity and justice to persons. Now, the fraud unit, we have officers we have 4 offices: Port of Spain, South, East, and Tobago, which was one of the most recent, the Tobago office, which is located at Shervan Road Police Station. All right. Our email is at fraud@ttps.gov.tt, and the contact number that you can reach those offices at is 612-2470, and the extension in particular for Tobago is 14139 and 14154. As I said, we are located at Shervan Road Police Station. What we can see when we look at our statistics, as comparing last year to this year, in 2022, we recorded 4 fraudulent matters. For the same period this year, we are recording 29. So there's a significant increase, and it's not that it was not happening. I believe that persons were not reporting it, because in times gone by, some persons would have actually have to go to Trinidad to have their matter reported and investigated, or the matter would have to be recorded in the Tobago division and transferred to Trinidad, where somebody would come to Tobago and do the investigation. So the office being in Tobago makes it a lot easier for person, right, and accessible. So some of the matters that we tend to deal with, land matter. Land matters is one of the prevalent ones in Tobago. The sale of motor vehicles. Persons lending money, and they're not a financial institution. So a lot of us, we have a good friend. So let me borrow $5,000, I go pay you back next week. Next week never come, and then you come by the police.
Right.
So all these things are some of the issues that we have to treat with. We deal with ATM ATM fraud, or to those persons who go to the bank, the teller, the bank machines, and their cards may be skimmed. They lost their card. They report money is missing from their account. All these are things that we treat with, and we deal with the criminal aspect, not the civil aspect of fraudulent activities. And that is one of the challenges that other people encounter, because most persons, when they come to us, they want to get back their money.
Yes. I will want to get back my money.
Our role and function is not to get back your money. We are going to investigate the matter.
Right. And
if there is sufficient evidence, it will be taken before the court, and the court will treat with it as best as you can. However, in retrieving your money, you can take a civil action against the person, and through that means you can get back your money that you would have invested or lost. And as I mentioned, the word invested, you know, in times we talk about these susu and these investments that persons claiming that if you put in 10,000, you'll get 20,000 by the end of the day. Now, the reality of that is, how real can that be? How are they going to invest that kind of money and get such high returns? Right. If it's too nice, I mean, something is wrong.
Check it twice.
Right? Yes. So we are advising persons with these sort of investment schemes, verify from the person or the institute or institutions if they are registered with the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. What is your portfolio as relates to these type of investment that you are claiming that you are involved in? And it would help you in being a victim of fraud. Right? Avoid doing transactions on the side of the road, by the mall, on weekends, and outside of business hours. One of the skills that fraudsters use is to operate outside of banking hours. So, for example, they will tell you to do a transaction
Friday
6 o'clock,
afternoon.
Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
So, but most of the times, the banking institutions are closed, and you cannot verify your transaction, and they always quick to tell you, this is the last one. 2 more coming now. These are some of the signs of persons being into these fraudulent activities, and we are advising persons be very wary of your environment. Be wary of the persons that come your way. The HDC, persons operating in the HDC, in Trinidad and Tobago Housing Development Corporation, where persons are trying to get homes. These companies are basically monopolies. And why would somebody meet you on the side of the road for you to collect money from them?
Right.
These are the signs. So we have to be mindful as to how we treat with these matters.
There are obvious signs, you know, that you can see. But there's some people that are really slick, eh? Some people really slick, and they kind of pull the wool over your eyes. So you really have to be vigilant when it comes to handing over your hard-earned cash. So when somebody presents a deal to you, it sounds real good. I have my personal car, and I trying to sell my car, and I call 25,000 for my car, a BMW. I call 25,000 for my car, and you find it so good, so you want to buy it. So how we working this out? Because to me, I think, you know, I think it's a good deal.
And that is always appear to be a good deal, but we have to. Generally, what you often do as well, you compare the real market value to what you are getting. Because, for example, a BMW is somewhat a high-end vehicle. And if somebody is offering a BMW for $25,000, the light should go on. Because you must, as I said, you must compare the real market value as to compare to what you are getting. A lot of people are getting tricked with phones. You want an iPhone. A man going to tell you, give me $2,000, but that phone on the market is about $7,000. How are you justifying that reduction in cost? And these are the signs that continue to allow people to fall victim of fraudulent activities.
And what is the importance now of, like, let's say we're having that same kind of transaction. I'm selling my car to you. A lot of people pay cash. They go to the bank, they withdraw their money, and they give this person cash. Why have we moved away from doing a bank transfer or bank, you know, the payments through the banks? Because in that way, at least I have a paper trail for where my money went. Right? I see a lot of people going into the bank and withdrawing large sums of money and handing them in an envelope for the cars.
Right, and that in itself is very dangerous, because we have had many instances where it reports out of Tobago, persons going to Trinidad with $25,000-$30,000 cash to make payments. In some instances, persons went missing, persons were robbed of the money, they never got the car. So simple things like that, you can do it through the bank. So if somebody is interested in, if you are interested in purchasing a car, you need to do the background checks on that car. Ensure that vehicle is not, the person is not owing on it from another financial institution. So you can do that background check, check the license authority, verify who is the registered owner. And as it relates to the money, you can do a manager's check.
That's right.
Go to the bank, get a manager's check, and pay the person rather than you walking around with large sums of money and being robbed and having unfortunate instances like even losing your life. So these are some of the little signs that you have to pay attention to. Let us use the legitimate authorities that are available to us so that we can utilize the resources available and safeguard ourselves and our hard-earned money.
And I remember there used to be a time, like if you go to the bank with a large sum of money or you go to withdraw a large sum of money, they would ask you where the money coming from or why you're withdrawing this large amount. So I think, we need to work in partnership with each other to ensure the safety of your patrons and also to reduce the level of fraud, the risk of fraud.
Certainly.
Because I clearly remember one time the bank $5,000, $5,000 I walk in the bank with where I get this from, and I'm employed. So there was a time when measures were more stringent, but now I feel like there's a relaxing things and people are just allowing things to slip under the rug.
Yeah, certainly, and it allows for persons to pounce on you, because if you allow yourself to be an easy target, then persons will take advantage and you can find yourself in problems.
That's right. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Sergeant Joseph Jordan about protecting yourself from fraud, some of the signs to look for with fraudulent behavior, and how you take the necessary steps to ensure that you protect yourself and your loved ones from falling victim of fraudulent behaviors. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for staying with us here on the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. And we are going to head on over in Tobago Notes. But before we go, of course, we invite you to share the live, and stay with us, because right after Tobago Notes, we head on over into GMT with Candice Jackson. Have a good one.
Tobago's faith-based council is the brainchild of Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Pastor Terence Baines, and is the first of its kind on the island.
I am of the view that faith-based organizations make a significant contribution to the development of any society. As a division, we are very, very proud that we are able to at least have this shall I say, a seed distribution.
Taking the time to say thank you has a powerful impact. And on behalf of the leaders of the various organizations that were gifted with their seeds, Andy Joseph and Elect Lady expressed gratitude.
I am glad to see that the division has taken such initiative to come about with this faith-based, seed, as the secretary call it, all right? And I think it's wonderful, because when we look at some of the churches, and the organizations in the churches, we find that sometimes we struggle to get things off the ground. We need some, we've seen an increase in souls in the kingdom, but where the financial contributions are concerned, it's kind of difficult, and so this initiative, I think it's great because it would help a lot of the faith-based organizations in Tobago, the churches, to get off on a good start.
We would have gathered many, many artifacts. As a result, a few years ago, we started doing storyboards and other things. We've done exhibitions in schools in different areas. So we wanted a safe place for all of them. So we came up with the idea of doing a museum, a spiritual Baptist / community museum. We would have asked for assistance for a number of years, which we never got. So we are very thankful for the faith-based organization to help us to take this thing a foot further.
Launched in 2002, the faith-based organization Council seeks to assist various denominations on the island to carry out their mandate.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denasia. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. Chief Secretary Fali Augustine believes that the demand for the upcoming carnival on the island of Tobago may not be met as the event is oversubscribed with people wanting to travel from Trinidad. He said additional ferry sailings and flights are expected to fill quickly. Augustine emphasized the importance of improving air and sea transport to boost accommodation numbers, and he is hopeful for the season, expecting an increase in visitors. Safety measures, including additional police and army personnel, are in place. Meanwhile, a budget of $12.5 million has been allocated for the festival, with Scarborough as the focal point. Moving on, Crime Stoppers is offering a $50,000 cash reward for the information leading for the location of Richard Boodoo, who disappeared on September 29. The 39-year-old was last seen at Easy Breezy Guest House in Lowlands and is classified as kidnapped. Boodoo, of East Indian descent, has a brown complexion and suffers from schizophrenia and urgently requires medication. If you have any information, you can contact 800-TIPS or submit a tip at crimestoppers.com. And finally, opposition leader Kamil Prasad Bisessa called on Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to maintain his original plans for proposed crime talks, including the involvement of all stakeholders. In a letter, she expressed concern over the changes in the format of the discussions and sought clarification from the Prime Minister's participation in the talks. She emphasized the importance of inclusivity and allowing law-abiding citizens to contribute to securing their future. Additionally, Prasad Bisessa urged the government to adopt a holistic approach to combat crime, citing the need for more than legislation. She hoped for open-mindedness in the discussions. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds, viewers. It's such a good morning to be with you this morning, and we're going to be diving straight into our first guest for this morning, and that is Mr. Michael Anisette, and you know him as the General Secretary of the National Trade Union Center, as well as the head of the Sea Workers and Waterfront Workers Association. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Anisette.
Blessed morning to you. Blessings to Tobago and your listening public.
All right, great. So this morning we're getting into discussions about wage negotiations, and Naktuk this morning is saying no to that 4%. So just can you give us a little perspective on where the negotiations are at this point in time in terms of working out a solution with the CPU?
All right. We are not part of the CPO negotiating mechanism. We are with the Port Authority. But as the General Secretary of NATO, I can advise that the discussions, because I was part of that discussions with the CPO and his team, was one that was anti-social dialogue and anti-negotiations. In other words, the CPO came with a position, take it or leave it. There was no what I want to call meaningful discussions to find ways and mechanisms and processes in order to address the issue based on the union's articulation on the question of wages and other terms and conditions. And the attitude was, well, let the court decide. That is not the way you do industrial relations in Trinidad and Tobago and worldwide. But more importantly, this government is part of the ILO, and the ILO is clear that social dialogue and meeting and treating in good faith has to be a fundamental underpinning of any collective bargaining and negotiations. That is one aspect with the CPO. The other aspect has to do with the Port Authority, where we would have negotiated a 12% wage increase for 2014 to 2017, and where the NIB would have negotiated through PSA a 9% wage increase. And as I speak to you, the government have refused to give the instructions to both NIB and the Port Authority to implement those discussions, thereby concretizing the view that the union and the trade union movement have, that this government is time-minded. Negotiations one, they want to suppress wages two, and this government is following a profit-led economy as opposed to a wage-led economy.
All right. I know I noted with with interest during the budget debate, this sort of attempt from the Minister of Finance to offer this bonus to those people, those workers throughout, public servants throughout, who have accepted the 4% offer in sort of hopes, or I guess trying to entice NATUC and the rest of the trade unions that have not yet settled to accept the offer that's on the table. I mean, what do you think about that? This Christmas bonus being thrown at you guys and the workers?
No, well, the Christmas bonus was a deliberate attempt, and as we say in the labor movement and NATO, the question is why it is that the government would have allocate money. And let me make it clear, there are 86 registered unions. The people that we are talking about is police, fire, the army, prison services, who, if you talk to the representatives, their matter was referred to the essential industry, and there were threats that you can get 10 years in terms of the agreement, and the teachers too. So that when we talk about the unions, it's those groups of people that we are talking about. But the mass majority of workers, including PSA, would have rejected the 4%. But more importantly, as I speak to you, the TSTT, who the very said essential industry will have offered 000, that matter is now before the court waiting hearing, because there was an appeal based on the attitude and the pronouncement and the decision made by the court. So I want people to understand that. And I want the workers to understand that those who are saying go and sign the 4%, and no one is saying that, PSA have over about 30 or more thousand members. Okay, and you had less than 200 people, some who were public servants, some who were not public servants. But more importantly, Trinidad, we must pay attention to certain things. There was someone who is not a member of the PSA who would have applied for permission to march in front of PSA. It was granted by the Commissioner of Police, and then they blocked off Abercrombie Street to allow someone who is not even a member of the PSA to protest against, right, the 4% and Leroy Battis and other senior leaders like Michael Anisette and James Lambert, etc. We must ask ourselves as Trinidadian, is that democracy? How does that gel in your minds in the context of someone, right, who is not a member of a union, is not a member of PSC, who has no office whatsoever, who doesn't work with the government, can get a permission to call out a demonstration and protest against PSA? I just want to put that in the public domain so the public can think for themselves and understand what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. But we will continue as the Federation and the Joint Trade Union Movement and AMNATUC to argue that the 4% does not address the living standards of government employees. What it has done is to further pauperize public servants and government employees and push them further down the economic ladder. Why am I saying that? When one looks at the fact that government employees, port workers, NIS, IMA workers, and OWASA, all the other workers did not get any wage increase, some going back to 2012. And when one looks at the cost of living, our research would have demonstrated it has gone to almost 35 percentage points, and a government offer 0.02, and I want people to understand that, 0.02 in the first 3 years. It's not a 4%, you know, it's a 4% over 6 years, and 0.02 in the first 3 years is translated into 0.0066 percentage increase. It is less than a percent of increase that the government is offering over the 3-year period. And if you calculate the other 3-year period, which is 0.02%, is the same calculation. So the public must ask themselves, in Trinidad and Tobago, are we really believing that workers who would have had to face COVID-19, port workers who was there when everybody was home, nurses, public servants, and all these groups of workers, are we saying that the value of those workers' job is 0.066 percentage points for a 3-year period? That is what this is being translated to. And just let me add something, please, if you may allow. We are arguing for living wages. Why we are saying living wages? And I will give you what is the meaning of a living wages as expressed by the ILO, the International Labour Organizations, and other international institutions. A living wage is the amount of income needed to provide an employee with a basic but socially accepted standard of living. A living wage is calculated by first establishing the cost of the basics, right? But decent life inclusive of food, housing, education, healthcare, transportation, clothing, and other essential needs for a family, including unexpected events. That is the meaning of a living wage. And I will ask the question, given the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago that has risen exponentially over the years, does a 0.0066 percentage points can make a government employee survive? That is the question, and that is why the union is arguing that you must treat workers in a decent way. You cannot just come and say, I don't have money to pay, when the same private sector is paying workers a minimum of 9 percentage points over that very, say, 3-year period. And let me repeat, 3-year period. So the issue is about philosophy. The issue is whether this government is interested in living wages, not minimum wages. We are not talking about minimum wages. We are talking about living wages for every Trinidadian and Tobagonian who is working in Trinidad, because your wage must be able to maintain a standard of living that would not drive you into poverty like is happening in Trinidad and Tobago.
What do you think is contributing to the reluctance from the government to go for a settlement that is more than 4%?
No, well, that is arrogance. It is arrogance. It is insensitivity. It's a level of dictatorship where do as I say. If I say I don't have money to pay, well, that's it. Do what you want. And you cannot develop a society where workers or where the citizenry feels that there's a lack of justice, and workers are saying that. I wouldn't like to show you what I will want to call Natuk page, where workers are saying that, and he said, you're talking too much. It is time for us to take positive and progressive actions to address this government insensitivity and arrogance towards their workers, because the government in this instance is an employer, and we cannot divorce that fact. How do you say that I have no money? The economic crisis, COVID-19 would of course A, B, and C, but the very private sector who was part of this society, who are the first who are affected when you have recessions and all these kinds of things, are given wage increases to a minimum of 9% over the very, say, 3-year period. And I want to repeat it. The average that has been registered in the industrial court is an average of 9 percentage points, and not the 0.006 that this government is offering. The government is offering less than a percentage increase on your salaries for 3 years, because it's very easy to work out. Divide 3 years into 2% and you will get the answer.
Yeah.
Because the government may believe that because we are workers, we are foolish, and they could do us and say anything and make threats that if you get your back pay, you remember there was a saying by the Honorable Prime Minister, all you march up and down, all you want all your back pay. If all you get all your back pay, I want to send on people. But the very government now offering during Christmas time, and close inverted commas, Christmas time, back pay for workers. Who benefits in Trinidad and Tobago, given our culture, antecedents, and history when back pay is paid on a Christmas time? Who benefits?
Now, I mean, at this point in time, we've had these negotiations going on for so long. Is there anything that can be done? Is there any other step that Natuk is willing to take to get a more satisfactory wage negotiation settlement?
All right. Well, let me see. The National Trade Union Center, and may I speak for the whole labor movement, we are committed to meeting and treating with the government in order to find what I will call a reasonable resolution. And there are processes that can be used in order to resolve this particular issue. But if you have a belligerent government who makes an egregious proposal of 2% of wages over a 3-year period and 2% over another 3-year period, thereby denying some workers who would have retired pension benefits too, how do you address that particular issue? It is unfortunate that we are seeing this resistance and this unwillingness on the government to engage in meaningful discussions with the labor movement to find a resolution. And anybody who living in Trinidad and or Tobago, any worker, even you, will know that the question of cost of living and inflation and your purchasing dollar would have dropped exceedingly during this period. And I'm saying workers didn't get any wage increases From when? From when? From when? 2012 to 2013 to the present. That is the reality. But more importantly, we would have seen the university lecturers who are responsible for the education of our children, which is very important, would have demonstrated last week here, because the government will have offered them only 2% increase, and those are our educators. They have our future in their hands. And if the government is so insensitive and callous to bring about that kind of social discord, well, then there is a time and a place for everything. That is what I'm prepared to say. But allow me to announce that the National Trade Union Center, we will be meeting an emergency session Saturday coming. I'm calling on all shop steward, branch officers, executive members, general council members, members of NATU who are shop stewards in various entities to come to the NUGFW Hall at 1 o'clock Saturday, where we will sit down and strategically build a consensus in terms of how we must move about demanding respect and dignity as workers. We are part of this society, and therefore the government must understand that leadership is about moral responsibilities and not making workers feel that they are being treated in a way that is less than humans and without respect and dignity. And that is the mass feeling of the mass majority of workers in the government service, given the government behavior in this matter.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Anisette, for being on with us and for giving us your perspective on this whole wage negotiation issue. And I certainly wish you best of luck as you try with the trade union to get a more satisfactory settlement.
No, it's not me, it's Trinidad and Tobago. Because poverty brings about crime. Living wages and decent wages cause your economy to grow. That is an economic fact. Let me repeat it for the people. Poverty is one of the mechanisms that brings about crime, and poverty is reflected when workers work and their salaries and their wages do not have the potential of meeting their everyday commitment and household commitments as workers. That is an economic fact. It has happened all over the world, and we are going fast down a particular hill when we see in drugs, ammunition, youths fighting in school, and all these issues. That is a spin-off of poverty and an education system that needs to be looked at collectively and socially. It cannot be and it must not be that whatever the government say goes and there is no engagement. That cannot be a democratically run society, and that is what we are saying in the labor movement. This is not about the union, it's about the future of Trinidad and Tobago and whether we want wage-led growth as opposed to profit-led growth where a few people benefit and the workers have to be scrambling day in and day out to meet their daily commitments in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. I want to thank you so much. And viewers, we got to go for a quick break, but when we come back, we have more conversations coming up for you, so please don't go anywhere.
Rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the sky.
Take your time and ride on the bike. Take your time and ride on the bike. Take your time and ride on the bike and ride on the bike and ride on the bike. She's loving the ambience of my. Somebody call the ambulance for this chick. I just glow, I don't really quick. That's why she's loving me. Better bet you when you done your mind walk with a stick. Meanwhile you bend down, let me see you boom flick. Let me beat it up just like. I know you're loving me. When coming to I like the plenty. Sit on my riding like a Bentley. Full of that need to empty. Take your time and ride on the bike. Take your time and ride on the bike and ride on the bike and ride on the bike. 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 Ride on the 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 bike.
morning, Tobago. On Tobago Updates, viewers, we are now being joined by Miss Natasha Second, who is the technical advisor in the Division of Education, Research and Technology. A special good morning and welcome to you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. Good morning, Candice. Good morning to all of the viewers. If I could plug, I know everybody is praying for the war-torn countries like Israel and Palestine, but we just want to remember the children in our prayers.
Certainly. Now, getting into our conversation this morning, I want to get things kicked off with what's going to be happening with the Tobago-centric curriculum, because this is something that's been promised. It was promised on the election campaign trail, and 2 years later, we're now seeing it some action with us concerned.
Right. So the Tobago-centric curriculum is the brainchild baby of the Secretary of Education, Assemblyman Hackett. The movement began when she did mention it a few mandate Mondays back. The idea is to infuse education and the education sector with identity building elements within various elements of the curriculum, looking at our history, understanding our geography, looking at customer service for tourism boosting, how we apply agriculture, both in terms of the primary activities and agribusiness, where we can have entrepreneurs come out of our farmers, etc. We did attempt some piloting through our Project Impact program. And for those who may not have heard about Project Impact, it was a remedial program that was birthed from the analysis that we got from SEA results during the post-COVID period. So we did, with our July-August program, try to infuse some elements of what we hope the Tobago-centric curriculum is going to look like. So we did have agriculture, we had technical vocational skills training, along with the remedial and the remedial math and remedial English training. Now we're at the stage of inviting the public to nominate persons or nominate themselves so that they can be part of the committee that will formalize the actual curriculum. We have the technocrats like the curriculum unit at the division that will actually craft the physical curriculum just to introduce some lessons from early childhood all the way up to secondary that will focus on Tobago-centric ideologies and Tobago-centric education.
So what would this Tobago-centric curriculum thing, how would it take the form? I know that you have an open call right now for committee members. So just give us a little understanding as to where the thinking is in terms of managing this.
Right. So we had internal meetings where various stakeholders came together and discussed how we're going to roll it out, the physical structure of it, etc. The CEO of TITL, that's what we call 211, would have designed, along with other technocrats, the survey that will allow persons to nominate themselves or nominate other persons who we feel have the expertise on the ground. They don't necessarily have to have educational qualifications if they have the expertise, but they will be supported in the same committee by persons with the technical skills, like the curriculum unit, to help to build the actual curriculum, which we hope to introduce into the schools, using modules that we can pilot in the beginning and then roll out as a natural part of the education sector.
And how big would this committee be? Is it that anybody can apply that has the educational background? Is there a cutoff as to how much would be taken on board, and how would these people be vetted?
Right, those are good questions. So we are first allowing anybody to make a nomination. If you feel that media, personnel, persons in art and craft, persons in culinary arts, a PAN specialist, anybody who you feel has made a sterling contribution to Tobago's cultural evolution, you nominate the person, you suggest their name, etc. They obviously have to be willing. Like I said, it will be a mixture of personnel. We'll have persons who have qualifications based on their actual academics. You have a PhD in something, a master's, a bachelor's degree, etc. or you simply have a practical skill. The final composition of the committee will not extend beyond 15. So internally, we will look very closely, that's the technocrats at the Division of Education, along with other persons from other divisions, will look closely at the nominees. And from that process, we'll select the best 15 to go forward.
All right. Well, there's some other things that are happening in the division. There's some other committees being formed. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I want to chat about the Hybrid Education Committee. That was formed about 6 months ago. So just to remind the public, those who probably didn't see the last interview or those who would have seen it and don't remember. We were formed to respond to the need to have some sort of online presence in our education sector. So we had a very wide ranging stakeholder committee comprising the Tobago president for the union, teachers union, principals from all the sectors, early childhood, primary and secondary. We had the CEO of TITL, again 211, the CEO of THDI, that's the hospitality school. And we had technocrats from the division, myself as technical advisor, advisor to the secretary and the administrative officer too, also head of the PTA in Tobago. What we would have done is come up with a policy. So we have completed the task. So that is a policy that is done. We are now at the stage where we're going to present it to the chief secretary and his executive council. The Tobago officer has been given the mandate to share it with the national tutor executive. That apparently didn't happen at the national level with the Ministry of Education, that component, sharing the information with tutor. So we are very glad that we would have had all of these stakeholders involved. We went through in detail the roles and responsibilities of all of the stakeholders, school supervision unit, curriculum unit, teachers, parents, students, because those were the things that were missing during the COVID-19 period when we tried to do the online teaching and learning. So now we have a system that potentially can allow us to lose less teaching time and allow accelerated students to have access to information anytime they want to. So the asynchronous model, for instance, will allow teachers to preset tasks, tests, etc. online, and parents and students can go through it at their own pace so that they don't have to be held back by the standards of the system. You know, I'm in standard 1, so I learn this curriculum. If you accelerate it, you can learn some more. You can learn deeper, you can learn more. It also will allow us to manage teacher shortages. Sometimes you have teacher shortages in the system. If we have a really effective online system that is guided by a policy, then teachers in a school that where they are really strong teachers can help schools where there are no teachers in the same subject area. So we can teach geography or English at school A to 1,000 students all across Tobago, for instance. So it is really promising, and we are very excited about it. Once we've gotten past the National Executive of Tutor and the Executive Council with the Chief Sec, we begin the piloting phase.
Now, with this system, I mean, it seems as though it also makes a way for homeschooling capabilities. Is that one of the thinking behind it?
Definitely. We already have a functioning homeschooling kind of system. It just needs more monitoring and more supervision. Some eyes being cast by the officials of the Division of Education. Early childhood, for instance, recently accomplished their upgraded standards. For many years, we had an outdated system of guidelines that sort of did not look at private sector early childhood or homeschooling students. And now we have the legal teeth to sort of monitor and guide persons in the private sector, persons doing the homeschooling, etc. So an online system really has tremendous potential to increase the quality of the services delivered to every student, whether you choose to educate that child at home, and there could be any number of reasons why you do that. If you have a child with a severe disability or different ability, if you have students with behavioral issues that require special attention or medication, we would be able to provide the same quality of education in a physical classroom at home using the same curriculum and the same system.
And I mean, would this impact in terms of like just where a person is placed, let me say in a primary school? So does this mean that they would have to actually get into a primary school to be a part of it, or could they, like, let's say a child coming up seems to be a little bit academically inclined and could be pushed to just go further, could they just, you know, stay out of the actual school system and go further?
We would want you to be registered so we know where you are, because remember, the UN Convention for the Children's Rights guides and protects the child's right to education. So it's not like we want you to just keep your child at home and decide how you're going to educate the child, because the child belongs to a system, the child belongs to a society. There's no reason why you would have to enroll at a primary school if we have an effective online policy that has been tested with piloting, and we have rigorous systems to ensure that every child learns, because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that every child has equal access to quality education.
And then what about the teachers themselves? How are you preparing the teachers for something like this?
Right, so on our committee, we had principals, right, who have been sharing the information, receiving information. A lot of our needs assessments, etc., allowed us to interact with teachers themselves. So we did a lot of surveys. We actually got feedback from them to know how they felt about the experience during the COVID-19 period, what were the shortcomings, etc. So we did a nice SWOT analysis. The strengths and the opportunities outweighed our threats and weaknesses, which is why we know it's a viable option to proceed with. The pilot stage is going to help us to work out the kinks. Obviously, we have to inject funding in it. You and all of Tobago would know that we have received less on the DP side of our budget. The DP is where you spend in terms of projects, your remediation, your acceleration, school repairs, everything. That's where you have to share all of the money across the THA. So we will have to look at funding outside of the THA as well to help us to accomplish some of these goals. If we're going to do that piloting for the hybrid, we have to invest money in infrastructure. We have to have, whether it's laptops, tablets, hardware, etc. But we also have to do extensive training. Students have to be trained, teachers, parents, everybody has to be trained.
And then what about in terms of the data connectivity and access to devices? That's always part of this conversation when we talk about online or virtual learning.
Right, so the Division of Education has a really good relationship with the Minister of Digital Transformation. That's
Mr. Bacchus?
Yeah, Bacchus. And one of the things that we're going to be introducing in Tobago to match what is happening in Trinidad is the ITC Access Center. So you're going to have 11 of them in the first instance in Tobago. The support from his team will not only bring finances and help us to physically set these up with HR and technology, they will also be helping us monitor the provision of effective devices that will help us to access greater bandwidth, better services with our internet. And we will be liaising with our internet providers, because all of Tobago has to recognize that education is everybody's responsibility, including our service providers. So we can't have an online system that is effective if we run out of bandwidth or if we lose internet connectivity on a regular basis. So they are going to be stakeholders that we chat with as well, going along.
And then even moving further than this, there are some other things that are coming out of the division that you want the public to know.
So many things. Our research department is really thriving at this point in time. We have some expertise coming across from planning and finance. We have been doing a lot of combinations. Our curriculum unit did TDA, which is an assessment of our standard 1 and our standard 3 students. The analysis of that showed us exactly what is happening lower down. You know, we've been focusing on SEA. We recently got our CSEC results, etc. We have been doing extensive analysis, and we know where the areas of weaknesses are: remediation, boys, tracking those boys from early childhood all the way up to where they end up. A large percentage of them end up on the streets, you know, selling water and drugs and other things. Toting guns and stuff like that. We want to transform all of that by intervening in a cost-effective and a relevant way, because the data is actually helping us to channel our interventions well.
And then what about in terms of, ensuring that we have a better level of school, we are addressing the concerns about school violence and that sort of thing that's coming up, that's popping up a little bit more often than we would like?
Post-COVID-19, we have not, as a whole globe, looked at student behavior and people behavior as a result of that isolation that we had during that COVID-19 period. It has been increasing the kinds of violence and the kinds of unacceptable behavior among students within our school system. So we actually have to intervene. Again, that intervention comes from the DP money. So we have to compete for that to make sure that everybody understands the importance of us having well-behaved citizens throughout this system. So we have to interject positive projects. We usually have them, Girls' Day, Boys' Day, various sporting activities where we help the coaches to sort of mentor the students, to teach them, the importance of behaving well so that you can learn more and you can contribute more in society. But we just have to intensify them, and we have to make sure that they are relevant and context specific. So for a Mason Hall High School, the behavioral interventions might be different from a Roxborough Sec or a Bishop's High School, etc. Yeah. So a lot of collaboration is taking place with the principals and different arms of the division, like the student support services and curriculum and school supervision.
And then just before we go, is it that there is some research also going into just the effects of COVID-19 and the pattern of behaviors that we are seeing being exhibited now?
Of course, we actually have feedback from principals that describe in specific schools, primary and secondary, that describe the unprecedented looseness of behavior among both boys and girls. And we've categorized them, what is sexual in nature, what has to do with simple indiscipline, lack of respect, just that they kind of broke out during COVID when they were just at home with their tablet alone and nobody was supervising them. So their teacher and their parent was the tablet. And World has a whole lot of very strange things telling our students. And they broke out. So we have to help them to understand how to behave. We have to teach them. Now that we are back in the confined spaces of our traditional schools, face-to-face.
All right. Well, we are out of time now for our conversation this morning, but I want to thank you so much, Ms. Sakin, for being on with us and for giving us, the news about what's been happening in terms of getting our education, I guess, revitalized and refocused.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for viewing. But viewers, don't worry. We don't have, we're not all done yet. We got a lot more coming up for you after the break, so don't go anywhere.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and
when you don't know she might blaze a sharp like a razor.
I'm gonna be in Tobago.
Tobago carnival.
Last lap, October 30th.
October 30th for last lap. Yeah, my boy gonna be representing Jamaica.
Barbados.
From the Bahamas. We're going on no Grenada inside that Tobago. We coming.
Who would have ever believe Jessica could take care of a child?
I know, right? I'm a kinship foster parent to my nephew Malik.
Papa, you remind me of my grandmother, when she used to take care of my cousins.
If I didn't step in, I don't know where he would have ended up. Plus, I get support from Children's Authority, training, and counseling.
But Jessica, you're not married?
That doesn't matter once you have a safe home and you're related to the child. You're good.
So did this give money to do this?
Yeah, they do give me some money.
So, Auntie, you can buy a Lamborghini for me?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Malik, but that money's to take care of you. Okay, smubble up, yes.
I will not try. Mommy, you can buy
No.
Wait, I didn't even finish my sentence.
About Lamborghini, you could get lamb stew for lunch.
Auntie Jessica could only come when you come in, because all them does do is talk people business.
Malachi, I'm only going on the bed.
But Mommy, the boy don't even live here.
Yeah, go to your bunkers.
What? Bunkers? Where's that?
I think I'm getting pretty good at this.
We are going on a new journey.
Tobago now has its very own carnival.
She like loud music and platinum touch. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denasia. Let's go. It's a brand new morning.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are now being joined by Mr. Christopher Nathan, who is the CEO of Cocoa Velvet International, as well as the director of Making Style program. And we are here to talk about the Making Style workshop that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So special good morning and welcome to you.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Well, the name is actually Tobago Youth Creative Arts Workshop. And that Making Style is actually the graduation presentation show at the end of the workshop. So I am here to scout for talent, basically, to find young men and young women in Tobago who have an interest and the potential to model internationally in Paris, New York, London, Milan. And this is something we have been doing, my company, Cocoa Velvet International, since 1997 when we were launched in Trinidad. So in 2019, after 40 years working in the airline and fashion industry in Trinidad, I decided to retire and move to, and this is why people will understand why I'm here. I decided to go to Africa, East Africa in fact, and set up Cocoa Velvet's African office off in the Indian Ocean in Seychelles. And in 2019, as you know, COVID struck. So after a few months, when I was about to go back to establish the office, I realized that it was not good timing. So I decided to move from Trinidad and come to Tobago to find my roots, because my mother is Tobagonian, Grenadian, and her roots go very, very deep in Speyside and Delaford. So I went to find out about my roots, the Campbell family clan in Delaford, and decided to stay here. So even though I'm here to retire, I decided to do one more workshop for Cocoa Velvet International, specifically for Tobago youths, while I still have some strength in my body. So that is how the workshop came about. So I decided to go to the Division of Education, Research and Technology to get permission from the secretary and the school supervisor 3 to recruit students from secondary schools around Tobago to attend the workshop. The response has been tremendous. I didn't really expect that. So we have 350 candidates from the secondary schools who are interested in pursuing careers in the creative industries. We decided to have interviews in order to whittle down our 350 to 100, because we can only accommodate 100 at the library's auditorium, which is where the workshop will be. So we're doing interviews every Monday in October with their parents and determining if they're serious about careers in the creative industries. As you probably know, the creative industry is huge, and it generates over $3 trillion a year in revenue around the world. And there's an opportunity for Tobagonian youths who have what it takes to work as professional models around the world to have a serious career. While we were setting up the workshop, I was able to negotiate an agreement with the Miss World Trinidad and Tobago organization for one of the participants of the workshop to represent Tobago at Miss World Trinidad and Tobago pageant, which is another wonderful opportunity for them. So that we decided to do a contest to make it fair. So we are having Miss Tobago 2024 Beauty Pageant as part of Making Style on the 4th of February at the Shore Park Complex, and 12 young ladies from villages around Tobago will compete for that title of Miss Tobago and go to represent Tobago at Miss World Trinidad and Tobago. I am so excited because so far we have identified 5 really strong candidates already out of the 12, and I believe they have the potential to win Miss Trinidad and Tobago as well and go to Miss World to represent the Twin Island Republic. So it's a great opportunity, because the last time we had a really successful Tobagonian
Kanisha Tom.
That's right.
She was my schoolmate.
There you are. And Kanisha actually came 7th at Miss Universe and Miss World. So we have recruited Kanisha to be a big system mentor for the workshop. So even though she's living in Kenya, you know, she's in East Africa.
Yes, I know.
Right. So she is online mentoring the young ladies who are in the workshop. and giving them advice about taking care of themselves and how to prepare for Miss World Trinidad and Tobago.
So did you work with her during that time, during that journey that she took?
Absolutely.
And what was that experience like?
Well, Making Style is where she kind of debuted in Trinidad, because that was a show we had in 2006, and she was one of our top models. In fact, we have some pictures to show, and you will see Kanisha at Making Style in 2006 on the catwalk. So do we have the pictures?
Yeah, I think the directors have the pictures in, so they should be flashing them across the screen right about now.
So I'm really happy to have Kanisha on the project as a mentor. And if we are able to get the finances, we want to bring her in as a judge for the pageant as well.
Oh, great. I mean, and then certainly because, I mean, a lot of people might be a little bit too young. Some of the people might be too young to remember when Kanisha went up. But what she did was quite remarkable, especially for a Tobagonian.
Yeah.
So,
and I'd like to stick a pin in there. Because of that, I have nominated her for a Tobago Award this year.
Oh, wow.
Because I was quite shocked. There she is. And that's what Making Style at Queen's Hall. Kanisha having positioned Tobago on the map internationally, and Tobago's fashion industry. I thought she had already received an award, and to my surprise, she hasn't. So I made it a point this year to ensure that she gets nominated for a Tobago Award.
Certainly. I mean, yeah, she really did well back then. Now, tell me a little bit about some of the other women, or actually models, I should say, because there are some men that you've worked with as well.
Right. And you've seen some male models from Coco Velvet International here. In fact, we just did 2 jobs here in Tobago, Coco Velvet International, and we unfortunately had to bring models in from Trinidad and Venezuela. And I want to change that. I want whenever we get a job here in Tobago, we use Tobago talent. Makeup artists, hairstylists, models, the whole gamut. So the workshop is to really develop a pool of talent here in Tobago, so that when Coco Velvet International is doing projects, we have all the resources we need here in Tobago. We don't need to bring anybody in from Trinidad anymore.
Certainly. And then, you know, what are the opportunities that are there for models? Because now versus 2000, it's quite a long time, and I know the industry has grown quite a bit.
Indeed. Our plan for Tobago is to develop Tobago as a fashion center, because there's potential, because you have a target market of thousands and thousands of tourists coming to the island every year for Carnival, for the Tobago Heritage Festival, and for various events here in Tobago. These tourists would like to carry home something with them from Tobago. So there's an opportunity for textile artists to create sarongs and wraps and scarves. There's an opportunity for jewelry designers to create jewelry to sell to them. There's an opportunity for fashion designers as well to create fashion resort wear to sell to the tourists and visitors. And for that reason, we have decided to have what we call Style Week Tobago, Creative Arts. We call it Caribbean Arts and Fashion Festival in 2025 here in Tobago. And we're going to bring, hopefully, a cruise ship in of visitors from North America to Trinidad Carnival first, and then they will come to Tobago and be part of a week-long fashion festival where there will be a market for Tobagoan artisans and craft people and fashion designers to sell their goods to these tourists.
Certainly. And then, you know, what is it that we have here? How can we work with, let's say, some of the pageants that we have locally to uplift the standard that we have? And I'm talking here about Miss Heritage. I'm talking here about the Afro queens that we have at Carnival and that sort of thing.
Well, it starts with training, really, yeah? And we are very excited to have recruited Miss World 1986, Giselle Around West, as our chief instructor. So she'll be coming to Tobago to train the Miss Tobago delegates, which is an amazing opportunity. You can't get better than a trainer who has been Miss World to train you. So the pageants that you have here, really, in order to get the quality delegates that you want, it really starts with training. And you have to train from ground zero up. So our training program includes corporate and social etiquette training, hair care and skin care training. We do wardrobe management. We do communication skills development, which is very important because these models are representing brands. The delegates have to speak at the contest. As a result, they have to be very articulate and confident and able to speak well. That's me doing a workshop in Trinidad with some models. They're all like 6 feet tall. And that's one of the requirements when we're here looking for models, and I should like to speak to that. because those of you who are coming to the screening today, Monday, and next week, Monday, need to be aware of the criteria. For Miss Tobago delegates, there is a criteria on our Instagram and on Facebook at Cocoa Velvet International, because we have to keep in line with Miss World requirements. So they cannot have had a child, they cannot be married, and delegates should be 16 years, between 16 years and 26 years old. So be aware, those of you who are interested in screening for Miss World, that you have to be unmarried, without child, and between 16 to 26 years. Female aspiring models need to be 5 feet 9 inches minimum height and a maximum height of 6 feet. However, because we have recruited, as I said, 350 candidates, many of them are 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, 15 years, and they're still growing. So as a result, I have been blessed with an eye to detect talent very early. So a lot of these pictures that you have just seen are models that I discovered when they were 12, 13, and 14, and worked with them over a period of time to prepare them for work at 18 years old when they finish school. So I can tell when they come to the screening if they're going to be tall and have the right body proportions, etc. So don't be discouraged if you are 5 feet 5 inches or 5 feet 6, but only 12, 13, 14. You will still grow. The male models, I think there are many talented male models in Tobago who have the potential, but they are afraid to come forward because they don't like to hear what people have to say about them and the family and friends and the peer pressure. Understand that male model is serious business. And in fact, probably 80% of male models who work in internationally are straight. They're not gay. So when people tell you about the gay thing and the homosexual, forget about it. If you feel you have potential and you have the right physique and the right height, come forward. Our screening is today, Monday, at the Scarborough Library facility on the first floor meeting room between 3 and 5:30 p.m. And then we continue the screenings next week, Monday, for Miss World delegates, as well as for Tobago top model delegates as well. We are hoping to have a candidate from each village community in Tobago, because we're looking at 12 delegates in the finals of Miss Tobago Beauty Pageant. And the ones who do not win, because remember we only have one winner who goes on to Miss World, are able to go to Trinidad for the screening for Miss World Trinidad and Tobago as well. So all 12 delegates can get into the contest.
But I mean, I know that there are other pageants that are happening
As well,
worldwide, and like it's been growing.
Yes.
So are these persons, so let's say they're not quite successful at Miss World, is there opportunities for them through your agency to be able to go out on the international stage in different lights?
Absolutely. Several of the Miss World delegates also have potential for modeling. So they'll be doing both contests, Miss World, Miss Tobago 2024 Beauty Pageant, as well as Tobago Top Model. So they'll have an opportunity to work in either area. Now, fashion and beauty is two different areas, and models who do beauty queen pageants are really not suitable for modeling, because it's a different, it's like oranges and apples. So we're separating the training. So there's training specifically for the delegates and there's training for models. However, there are one or two who can do both because they have the right criteria. They fit the right criteria. So moving forward, we will have a pool of young ladies who have the potential for beauty pageants, and we will train them and prepare them for contests in the future. And then we'll have separately a pool of models who will continue to prepare for work in Paris, New York, London, and Milan. We have 13 models from Trinidad at Cocoa Velvet who are currently working for top designers like Prada, Versace, Calvin Klein, Christian Dior. These are the top brands in the world.
Yes.
And we are very excited for that, because when I started Cocoa Velvet in 1997, there were two divisions, a fashion management division and a model management division. And I had the balls to say, I hope I could say that on the TV, to say when we were launching that we are here to discover, develop, and export talent from Trinidad and Tobago.
Nice.
And we have done that. In fact, we were fortunate that our principal model in 1997 was Wendy Fitzwilliam. And several months after starting the company, she won Miss Universe. And that brought a lot of international attention to Cocoa Velvet. And then we had a young man called Paul Robert Price who went to Oprah Winfrey's show, which we call Sexy Island Man Contest in Nassau, Bahamas, and he won. So he went on Oprah Winfrey's show. He got a gig with Ralph Lauren. He also brought a lot of attention to Cocoa Velvet. He's now a movie star working in Hollywood.
Wow.
So what we do is transform the lives of young people who have potential for the international creative industries.
Great. And we're out of time this morning, but before we go, I just want to get your contact details for those who are listening and would be interested. How can they get in contact with you?
Well, first of all, you have to go on our Instagram and Facebook to get details on the screening, which is Coco Velvet International. And we have a hotline for Miss Tobago 2024 beauty pageant, which is 620-2316.
All right, great. So viewers, there you have it. If you are interested, if you know anybody that is interested, we need to have another delegate there. All right, Kanisha Tom led the way back in the early 2000s, but it's about time we have someone else getting up there as well.
And this time we want to win the contest.
And this time we want to win.
Miss World 2024
yes,
from
certainly.
Tobago.
All right. Well, and thank you so much for being on with us, Mr. Nathan, and wish you best of luck. And viewers, I hope you have a safe and wonderful day, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new